Hi, welcome to this walkthrough on how you can customize serialization and deserialization, otherwise known as SERD, with Burr. The reason why you might care about this is that if you have something that you want to checkpoint and it's some custom object, Burr by default might not know how to save it and load it, in which case you might want to customize what you're going to do here. So this is what this kind of example is showing, is just the basic mechanics of it. So to start, I am using the notebook, and so the four things to kind of take away is that with Burr, there is a default set of serializers and deserializers, so hopefully you don't have to do anything. But then if you do need to do something, there's a few ways that you can register and adjust an org method. So, and the basic high-level picture is that the end result of saving data via state, it has to be some sort of dictionary object that can be JSON serialized. So let's first start with not what Burr has, but just say you want to you have some custom object that you want to tell Burr how to serialize or deserialize. So I have a pretty contrived example here. I have some custom class that is just has one single value in it. The way that we could tell Burr to serialize and deserialize this is that we need to write two functions. So there is we need to import the SERD module from Burr.core. But Burr.core SERD has a function that we can, or two functions that we can register how to serialize and deserialize this custom class. So here, that's why I have these two functions. So in this function, it's pretty basic. This top level, this decorator, all it's doing is just saying that if we see custom class, I want you telling Burr, hey, use this function to serialize it. So then we'll get the value in, and this is where all functions need to take a quarks argument, just so that if there is things to be passed, you can kind of customize it that way. But effectively, you can see the contract to return is that it has to be a dictionary. And then if you're using this approach with type, you need to basically register a key as to how to then deserialize it. So I'll speak to that in a second. But effectively, Burr doesn't stop you from using whatever approach you want for serialization. So here I'm just basically just taking the value and just doing something silly with it and just making it into a string of some weird format. Now, to deserialize this, right, this is why we need to return a dictionary with this particular key, because then on the other side, when we get a dictionary back, we need to understand what do we need to call to deserialize it. So this is why you have this line here, and this is what this kind of line is telling you, is that when you create a function to deserialize it, the way that we register it is we actually register mapping to this key. So this is what this decorator is doing, is saying, hey, run this function to deserialize what's in this dictionary if it has a SERD key value custom class. And so then you can see here that we can, it's a dictionary. We know the schema of it because we created it with value. So we can, pull out value and, undo this, stuff that we did to it, and then we'll get back out a custom class that we expect. So that's at a high level how that kind of works. Moving on to, say you have two custom class fields, but you really want to serialize or deserialize them, slightly differently, or one has some particular meaning or a different semantics. So Burr also allows you to, specifically for state, is to actually register field level serializers. This approach is kind of similar to the above in that we need to write two functions, two corresponding functions, so one to serialize, one to deserialize, except the registration is slightly different. So because we need to register the field against state. So this is where we're actually using the state module here to track globally for this. If there is a field of some sort of name here, custom field, then use this serializer and then this deserializer to serialize and deserialize this object. So similar approach. So here I'm declaring effectively that, hey, if my state object has a top level key called custom field, use this to serialize and then this to deserialize it. And so here in the specific example, I am taking an lang chain document and I'm doing some custom serialization, deserialization around it rather than defaulting to Burr's default implementation of how to serialize and deserialize LangChain documents. So in short, you just got to write effectively two functions. For customization, you first get one is more you register a type, and the other is you have to register it based off on a field. So then we can define our Burr application as we need to. In this example, I just show a random smattering of things that you can kind of populate state with. This first action is just putting a bunch of random stuff into state. Then another action is actually using, say, you have pydantic fields or classes. You can actually define your own custom pydantic objects, and Burr will know how to serialize and deserialize them without you having to add anything. So that's kind of what we're defining in this action. And then in this LangChain action, I'm just creating a document just to prove that that the field level serialization works, as well as Burr's default LangChain document serialization. So then I'm going to build my application. So the one thing to note here is I'm actually adding to state this custom field object just to map to the custom field serializer. But effectively, it's a very simple application here that's basically is going to be run linearly, pretty much. So then I'm going to run this application. It's going to run, and the net result of it is we're going to get the last action, the last result of what terminal action returned, and then the state at the end of it. So just to kind of show you how Burr serialized things underneath, we can kind of see here that if I run state.serialize, we get back out a dictionary that then can be JSON serialized. And so we can see here that our custom field received this kind of custom serialized value. So if we scroll back up to the top, we can kind of see where is it? On the field, we can see here that that's kind of what we added, right? Even though it was a LangChain document type. And then in the LangChain document field, Burr used its the methodology that it has to kind of serialize it. You can see here that the pydantic field and the custom class, we serialize that. And so then if we want to deserialize it, we just then need to pass this, the output of serialize into a class-based method on state to deserialize it. And then you can see here that this assert on the original state mapped to the deserialized one. So cool. So that's the basic walkthrough. If you're running this by default, this application logs to the local tracking client, in which case you can then, if you have it running in the background, we can kind of open up and see what went on. So if I want to kind of, here's my application, see this trace, we can see here that at every step, it might be easier to see this way, we kind of added to state, and we can kind of see here how things were kind of serialized. Cool. Thanks for listening. Last point is that if you want more documentation on it, if you go to the Burr docs, under state persistence, at the bottom we kind of have pointers here to custom serialization, deserialization, which will point to the serialization, deserialization top level concept, and which explains in a bit more depth and detail what I just kind of explained and showed you in the notebook. So for reference, just go to the serialization, deserialization section in the docs. Thanks for listening.